Hello and welcome once again to Cadet to Career, our new podcast series dedicated to the world of opportunity available through Cadet Vocational College. I'm Laura Cook, and in this episode I'll be looking beyond the BTEC to look at next steps for Cadet Vocational College learners and the opportunities for adult volunteers to enhance their own career prospects through the City and Guilds Awards. This episode brings together people who will each add some personal insight into how CV College supports its learners, the opportunities available, and importantly, we'll hear from those whose lives have been improved by vocational qualifications. Whether you're a member of a youth organisation, a cadet, an adult volunteer, teacher, parent or potential employer, I'm glad you can join us and hope you can find this series interesting and useful. Previously, we looked at the most common way that learners become involved with CV College, the BTEC Level 2 in teamwork and personal development in the community, achieved as part of their youth organisation activities. Well, the learner journey certainly doesn't stop there. After the BTEC, there are qualifications available through the Institute of Leadership and Management and City and Guilds. Now, these qualifications begin to focus more on the next stage career pathway, honing specific skills and the ability to demonstrate the value of experience as part of personal development. Whether it's an ILM Level 3 as a follow-on from the BTEC, a Level 3 in education and training to support the delivery of youth organisation activities, or right up to the master's degree equivalent at Level 7, there is much to discuss. Vocational qualifications are more than just certificates. They're pathways to personal growth, professional development and future success. And joining me today to look at what those opportunities might involve is Michelle Parry, CV College Vice Principal and Deputy Chief Executive, ILM Level 3 Curriculum Manager Ian People, Felix Collegiate Extended Curriculum Manager and former CV College learner Luke Horrobin, and Westminster Award finalist Ione Dixon. Welcome to you all. Well, first let's start off with the ILM. And a little bit earlier, I spoke to Ian People, and I began by asking him to explain what the qualification is all about.
ILM is the Institute for Leadership and Management. They're part of City and Guilds as a group of businesses, and the qualification we offer is a Level 3 award. So the learners need to complete 2 units to gain 4 credits. We do 4 units that are available, but they only need to complete 2 of those, and that will depend on whether they do it through us or whether they do it through their own organisation. And those tutors will pick the units that those learners are going to do. And they do it as a course. So they attend lessons, they go through an initial briefing, then 2 lessons, then they go away and do their work and submit that for assessment.
And what are we talking about here? What kind of skills are they going to be learning?
So clearly being the Institute for Leadership Management, it's leadership based. So the 4 units we do, there's one on problem solving, one on understanding leadership, one on delivering briefings and presentations, and one on motivating others within a team, really. All
kind of inspirational things that
Completely,
they're going to on their leadership kind of ladder.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about the learning process then of all those sort of modules then. Go into a little bit more detail about the kind of things that they're going to be doing and a little bit more detail about the learning process.
So as I said, it's delivered as a course rather than with the BTEC. They kind of, to a degree, they're able to get on with themselves, whereas the ILM, they have to attend learning somehow. So if we're delivering it as a course, they attend the lessons, which are done. We deliver it virtually for people, which is great, so anybody can sign on from around the country. If they're an adult volunteer, for example, within the ACF or the Air Cadets or something like that, they're attending a course that we've mapped. They attend that course and then they complete the assignments and send them back to us. They don't need to attend different lessons. The actual skills that they'll talk through, so if we look at Unit 300, which is all about problem solving, we talk about how they understand or they identify problems. They gather all the data that goes with it. They then need to look at how they take that data and understand what possible solutions they could come up with to solve that problem, evaluate those solutions to identify the best way to then move forward, and then how they're going to monitor that, evaluate it at the end, check it all works, and so on. Mm-hmm. The motivating unit, the understanding leadership are quite closely connected in the fact that that's more about, there's a lot of theory of leadership in there, different leadership styles and motivation techniques and things like that we talk about. And then obviously after the lessons, they then go away, reflect on where they've done that in the past, write about it into their workbooks, give good examples of what they've done in the past, and so on from there. And the briefings and presentations unit is quite good. So they have to deliver a 5 to 10 minute briefing or presentation, or briefing using a presentation on a management topic of some kind. So they could do a safety briefing to people, for example, that would work fine. And they plan all that into their workbook, they deliver it, they get somebody to observe it and give them feedback. They gather feedback from their audience. And again, they then do a quick evaluation on what worked, what they could have done a little bit better, and then move forward from there.
It's very important to look at that and evaluate what you can you can do better next time, isn't it? And learn from mistakes or
just in general leadership terms, being able to evaluate things is extremely important. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
In terms of then, obviously, you're shaping them for the future, shaping them for the workplace. Talk to me about the transition of how important it is that what they're learning here and then what they're going to be able to then take on in their future wherever they go into their workplace, and that connection between you guys and moving them in that direction.
Sure. So obviously, the leadership management qualifications are internationally recognised, so that's great. So if they're going for employment somewhere, it's a really good qualification to have on the CV. It also attracts 8 UCAS points, so those that are going for university, that's really useful. But the skills, we've had examples in the past of people that have gone for interviews, so they've got an ILM qualification, weirdly didn't get the job they've applied for, but got offered a more senior role instead based on that qualification. So they're really useful to have, really good to put on your CV. And yeah, it's just great. It's a really good way to demonstrate those leadership and management skills and abilities you've got and where it can take you to in the future. That's
a really good point for employers to kind of know and see on CVs that those youngsters have been through this process and seen it. How much weight do the employers kind of put on that when they're sort of CVs later on?
I think it's really key, and I don't, in the nicest way, I don't think at age 16 they understand the weight of that qualification and what it could do for them potentially. It's really good, those that come and take it on and do it, and they clearly enjoy it. From the ones I've delivered, they certainly seem to enjoy themselves. But the benefits, we try to explain that, but at that age, it's not that important to you. You've got other things going on in your life. But I think a bit later on, when they start to get interviews and that's coming up and job roles and so on, they'll understand the weight it carries, and it does really good.
That's
definitely.
What you guys are here for, to instill that into them. So talk to me a little bit more about, this is part of the Westminster Award as well, isn't it? So tell me a little bit more about how that kind of shapes into that.
Yeah, so that's a bit more of a rush, shall we say, in the way we do it. So that sounds terrible. It's not in delivery terms, but so obviously we get the original nominations for Westminster Award, which is great. Normally, a couple of hundred of those come in. We do a sift on those as part of the competition. We end up after stage 2, we dwindle them down to 40 nominees. We take them away to Somerset for a week to do various bits. Just before that, we deliver them an ILM Level 3 virtually, all delivered online. They submit one of those units before they come to Somerset. We do some tutorial time when we're in Somerset with them. They then submit their second unit for assessment. And the bit that's a mad rush is more on our side and not on the learner's side, that we normally have a bit more leeway in terms of the amount of time it takes us to do those assessments. But because it's part of the competition, we try to get through as quickly as possible. So all the assessors have a week to get all those assessments done. And then, fingers crossed they all pass. If they don't, they get a chance to resubmit, which is great. And 9 times out of 10, they're all passing, which is fantastic. But again, when they're away, some of those skills, they will identify those when they're doing various tasks and they're being interviewed and all these things that are going on. And hopefully they realise where these skills are coming into play. Mm-hmm. And again, they can then reflect on that and evaluate what's good and what's useful. So
this must be really rewarding for you over the years, seeing some of these people go through and go into their careers. Yeah. Tell me about some of the highlights of what you've been achieving.
So we naturally get some cadets or some young people and some adults as well coming onto this who aren't academic at all, and that's great. There's no reason why you need to be to do this, because it is about your vocational skills, your natural abilities, and so on. And be able to turn that into a recognised qualification is fantastic. So to be able to be involved in that delivery and kind of helping them along the way is really rewarding, definitely, yeah.
And that's when you see, at 16, like you say, like we've explained, they're there for you to shape them into the future. So seeing all that experience and seeing how this kind of fits into the jigsaw of their career, that's important for you to kind of say. But you can then say from experience, look at what these people have done, look at where they've come from, look at what they've achieved. Do they listen to you in that way? Because it's inspirational stories, aren't they?
Yeah, and we have a lot of people who go through Westminster come then back as ambassadors for us. course, which is fantastic. And again, they've all done the ILM, they've all done the BTEC and the ILM, should we say. They are great ambassadors to show people what the benefits are and what they go off and do. And some of these young people are doing incredible things now, which is fantastic. And they will all quite happily say that it's down to the BTEC, the ILM, and clearly what they did at school and so on as well is all included. But I think the qualifications we offer in general give them the added extra, the edge that some people don't ever have when it goes for university, employment, whatever it might be. And yeah, again, to be involved in that is brilliant.
Really interesting to find out more about the ILM qualifications there. That was ILM Level 3 Curriculum Manager Ian People. Michelle, if I can bring you in on that, a few really good subjects that he went through there. I mean, one thing that I brought away from that was at 16 not understanding the weight that these things carry, but then they do carry so much weight in the future with employers, don't they?
Absolutely. Most people that would do an ILM Level 3, the average age is round about mid-20s. So for people to have the skills and to be allowed to do that at such a young age, so we had to discuss with ILM allowing cadets to do it before they would allow them, because generally, people of that age would not be doing these qualifications. And it's all down to the skills and the knowledge that they have and that they learn through their youth organisations. Yeah. And the other group of people are prefects at school that have that sort of, responsibility. And that the cadets just seem to do it automatically. They don't realise that actually they're in quite an elite group.
I mean, elite is right. The Institute of Leadership and Management. I mean, when we say ILM, it's very easy to sort of gloss over the leadership and management. And leaders, when you see sort of cartoons and graphics sometimes in books, you're a leader. You are leading people. You're not bossing people around. You're not ordering people around. It's a very specific set of qualities, isn't it? And very special set of qualities.
Absolutely. And we see it when we do the Westminster Award every year. So we put the cadets through their paces and they'll be a member of a team and we will watch them and their team working. But then we will pick people to take on that leadership role. And because you're already working with people who all have these leadership qualities and some management experience, it could turn into a bloodbath of everybody trying to be the leader. But then it's very interesting to watch because some people just know and will naturally just stand back and let one person lead, but then when it's their turn, they will step forward, and it's
very interesting dynamics. Very interesting.
It is very.
Well, let's talk to one person who has recently done that. Ione Dixon, you were a Westminster Award finalist, and using your ILM Level 3 to support your aims for the future. Ione, tell me a little bit more about what you're using it for.
So I'm currently using my ILM with my future career. So currently I'm at university studying paramedic science. And so we work with a range of teams such as, the police, the fire brigade, and obviously the ambulance trust. And so it's really important to have that leadership and management within my career. I'm currently out on placement at the minute with my university. So I'm meeting loads of people in St Albans and where I live. And it's such a good thing to have behind me because I've been able to actually put it into practice.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's been great.
Well, tell me a little bit more, pinpoint for me, if you will, some of the key learnings that you've taken away.
So with the ILM, we were in lots of using a lot of teamwork skills. And so skills that I took away and gained from doing the ILM was, having respect, resilience when certain activities perhaps didn't go to plan. So, working together and having a lot of self-awareness and knowing that it's good to step back and listen to others when you're doing these teamwork activities.
You've pinpointed something that then we touched on with Ian, learning when things don't go right. It's not a failure, and you should turn that round on itself and think, right, well, how can I change that for the future? Learning that and having that in your head at such a young age is a very mature kind of approach to tackling any sort of thing that happens in the future, isn't it?
Definitely. It's always good to take the negatives and turn it into something positive. So something didn't go to plan, remind yourself what you should do to improve for next time and certain things that you could change and make it a better experience.
Ian also mentioned there the bit of the rush, well, probably on their side of it, and getting you all through the sort of Westminster Award and the ILM part of the Westminster Award. How challenging was it to complete? Tell me about the process of what, in terms of your sort of Westminster Award, and how challenging it was.
So we had to complete workbooks, and we had like set dates for those workbooks. And I didn't think it was too challenging. You know, I kept on top of what I had to complete at certain dates. And I was able to think back on times and reflect, because part of the topics was reflecting on things we've done in the past. So it was good to reflect and, you know, learn from reflecting of the things that I'd done in the past. We were doing some of the ILM when we were away. So it was just being able to keep on top of what we were doing whilst doing all the activities when we were away. So yeah, just keeping on top of things really.
Since you've done that, Ione, you've come across course leaders, you've come across potential employers possibly. Have you had any feedback? Have you had anything that people have come back to you and said, this is really important that you've done this, it's really impressive that you've done this?
Yeah, so when I was like applying for universities and attending placement at the minute, so I explained to them that I'd done this ILM and it was a level 3, and they were very like impressed that I was able to put myself out there and try and achieve these qualifications and get these qualifications. Because a bit like Ian said, you know, from a young age, it's really good that we are given the opportunity to have a chance to get these qualifications. Yeah, I think from being out on placement, they've noticed certain skills that I've been able to portray there. So, you know, listening to patients when we're attending patients' homes, you know, listening to them and taking in what they're saying and trying to give them the best advice that we can possibly give them.
I can imagine that's a crucial factor in the path that you're taking. Not necessarily, you know, everybody needs to be a listener, but it's certainly being a paramedic, those little snippets of information are life-changing, aren't they? So how would you encourage others to consider the qualification if you were to sell it?
So when I had heard about this qualification, I was going through a lot with obviously like uni interviews, and a lot was going on. So I was a bit overwhelmed with like having to take on another thing, but I knew that it would be so beneficial for me in the future with my career that I was able to put it down for my CV with university. And I think from like employees and stuff, it definitely, you're like a shining light for them, because it shows that you've gone out of your way to do qualifications, extra qualifications on top of education that you're currently taking on at the minute. And it makes you more intriguing to maybe other employers that are trying to get another job with that company. So yeah, I think it's definitely is a big thing to have. I help out with my St John's unit from time to time, and I've become one of the adults there, and I'm applying for a youth role, and they actually wanted me to go in and talk about this qualification that I've gained, because they also think it's very important for the youth to gain. So I've done like a little speech for them about how important it is, and the experiences that I've gained and the qualifications I've gained, the skills I've gained. And I do think a lot of the young ones have been interested, and they know it would be very, very beneficial for them to do and take on if they had the chance to.
I bet they have. And like Ian was saying as well, some people come back as ambassadors. I bet, you know, anybody who takes on these ILMs, anything that you can achieve, you're going to be a shining light and inspiration to many, many people. So there's Ione Dixon there, a Westminster Award finalist. I had the pleasure of talking to her at the awards last year, and using her ILM Level 3 to support her aim becoming a paramedic. It's fabulous to talk to her again. Michelle, very inspirational young person there.
Absolutely. I do remember Ione from the Westminster, and she just did not stop smiling. And we had an awful time down in Somerset, so it rained for 5 days, and they just didn't stop smiling all the time. And I think the other thing to say is they're putting different scenarios as well. So there are different styles of leadership that they need to use and that we see them use. And so for something like paramedic, sometimes you need to make that split decision. So you need people to listen to you right there and then. So yeah, as well as, you know, the different democratic styles depending on the scenario. So no, Ione was an inspiration and a very unassuming person as well.
Yes, absolutely. Let's move on to talk about City and Guilds in the Professional Recognition Awards, as we've touched upon, equivalent of a master's degree, which is no mean feat. Tell me a little bit more about them.
So, yes, as we've said, the Professional Recognition Awards from City and Guilds, they're all, again, based around leadership and management, and they range from a level 4 up to a level 7. And these are really for people who, have worked for many years and have a lot of experience. And it's literally recognising where they are in their career. So, depending on your level of leadership and management within your organisation, you can join at whatever level is suitable to your experience. It's not about what qualifications you've got. We don't expect people. You don't have to write in a highly academic manner. It's about proving the skills that you have and how you use them in your job, so that our adult learners who do these qualifications, and when we say adults, it's anything from 19 onwards. So we're not talking about middle-aged people. Some of our learners on these awards are very young, because they're the cadets that go back as senior cadets. So they start to have the experience, certainly for the level 4. So what the learner has to do is to produce a portfolio of evidence, and it can be anything from, they can write if they wish, produce evidence. There can be professional discussions for them to explain exactly, how they achieve things. And we give them around about a year. Generally, people need a year to complete, because, of course, most of our learners have got full-time jobs. They're also volunteers, most of them in the cadet forces, and then they have to find the time on top, which is quite amazing, to study on top of that as well. We do work with youth organisations. A lot of them will help and support the adult volunteers. And the reason that we like to promote these is, without the adult volunteers, there would be no cadets. So, we feel that they deserve to be able to, progress regardless of their age. So with the City and Guilds, we do offer a big discount for those that are Cadet Force adult volunteers. And they're much, much cheaper than if, commercial organisations that offer them. So for the level 4, for example, the standard price is around £700. And we offer it with about a £250 discount just for being a Cadet Force adult volunteer. And going up to the level 7. And when you think how much a master's degree costs now, it's like £12,000-15,000. And our standard price is, less than £1,500. But for a Cadet Force adult volunteer, it's less than £1,000, which to a lot of people is still a lot of money. But it makes it much more affordable, and a nice way to prove that actually, you have the experience and the skills to get that level of qualification.
A hugely attractive offer there. So, I mean, with that discount, it's valued internationally. It's recognised by employers. You do it at your own pace, flexible learning. All of that is incredibly attractive. And like you say, for the cycle of rewarding adult volunteers, but then pushing people through the cycle. So you're constantly having to replenish all that talent and all that experience. I mean, it's a no-brainer, surely.
I would say so. And a lot of our younger learners and cadets say that it is the adult volunteers that encourage them to do, because they see them, continuing to study and to learn.
Inspiration has a big part to play in this whole process, in the whole CV college. Everybody inspiring each other and learning from each other, and it's a fabulous opportunity. Well, let's talk to one person who I hope is going to shed some light from a first-hand experience, Luke Horrobin from the Phoenix Collegiate, where actually last year's Westminster Award Harry came from. But we're going to concentrate on Luke, who is a long-term CV college learner, completed BTEC Level 2, ILM Level 3, and C&G Level 7. So you've been through the whole thing, Luke.
Yes, started the journey as a young cadet at 425 Aldridge Air Cadets. Over the years, I had some really great, inspirational volunteers that supported me in the cadets. And then that's kind of, really instilled that sense of learning and achievement in myself to continue to do it in the workplace and as an adult volunteer.
Yeah, I heard you mention that one challenge that you found was finding time to complete your qualification. Talk to me a little bit more about how important all this was in fitting it around and helping you kind of, manage your time and fit everything into a busy life.
The award is set out, so it's really flexible on the online portal. I was able to study and have coaching and mentoring sessions, which outside of like working hours, which was incredibly useful, and that was quite paramount really to complete the qualification. The fact that the coaches and mentors were so appreciative of you being in full-time employment, so it might be calls on weekends or some evenings, and they were always there to support me, but it was really, really manageable throughout working full time.
Go back a little bit. I know I mentioned last year's winner at the Westminster Awards, Harry, but you were at the finals as well. We're in a slightly different guise, but back in 2011, weren't you?
Yes, 2011 as a Duke of Westminster finalist. And then, this year we've got Harry. And I think, at the time when I was a young cadet, I had some really good people who I looked up to and had these kind of qualifications. And I've tried to instill that in the rest of my adult volunteers and the cadets. And, it's absolutely fantastic to almost say, have one of your own complete the cycle. So I'm just really, really proud of him and all the other cadets.
I bet. And you still you travelled to South Africa as part of that, as part of the team. And you describe that as one of the best life experiences to date.
Absolutely. I've never experienced anything like it in my life. That was still, I would say, by far, one of my best life experiences to date. Yeah, it was fantastic.
So move on now. You're enjoying a rewarding career in secondary education. What particularly, we're talking here about the level 7. Tell me a little bit more about what exactly you learned from that you're still taking into your career and instilling in people that you're teaching.
So I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from completing the level 7 is with the nature of the qualification. It's all about reflecting on things that you already do and the different methods on how to reflect and use different ways to move forward. That's enabled me to again implement that in my workplace. So I run the Duke of Edinburgh programme with sixth form and the rest of the school, gold, silver and bronze. I teach other sort of leadership and development lessons within the school, and managing the students and the staff members that deliver that training, the qualification has enabled me to reflect, move forward, analyse that, and then constantly try and make it better.
How would you sell it? I mean, it doesn't need to. It sells itself really from what we've been discussing and the experiences that people have. But if anybody listening to this podcast is thinking about it from an adult learner point of view or a youngster, what advice would you give them?
I would always say give it 110%. And usually the things in life that might be the most scary or uncomfortable in the end are always worth doing 100%, and it pays off. The hard work does pay off. So really give it all that you can and you'll reap the rewards in the future.
And what for you now? What are you currently doing? What are you planning in the future? Anything exciting?
So currently, I've managed to become an associate senior leader at my school now, and I'm almost finished with my MPQ SL to be an established senior leader long term across whole school responsibilities. So that's kind of my goal and aim. And to be honest, I wouldn't have been able to get to this point if it wasn't for the Cadet Vocational College and this level 7 qualification.
Well, goodness me, that's it. That we're putting that on a postcard, on T-shirts, on coffee cups, the lot. Luke, thank you very much for joining us. That's fascinating to talk to Luke and Ione there. Michelle, another inspirational character.
Absolutely. And, listening to Ione and Luke as well, when we see the cadets in action and then we see, the benefit of and the fruits of our labour, it really does make it worthwhile, just helping people progress, adults as well, which is just as important to us.
Yeah, we mustn't forget the people behind the scenes here, a rewarding experience, and you're all on that learning journey as well, because it's all the different generations coming through are teaching you and framing how then you kind of adapt or whatever. You're all on the journey together, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing we do notice is they get younger and younger every year.
Wow.
And we just get older and older.
Unfortunately, time marches across our faces very quickly.
But yes, but it does keep us young and it does keep us relevant as well.
Yes,
the feedback from the learners is always relevant.
Absolutely. Well, it's been fascinating talking to all of our guests on this podcast. We've been speaking, obviously, if you haven't tuned into the previous podcast, we run through what the CV College does and where it's come from, where it's going, what it offers. And obviously on this one, talking about ILM and the City and Guilds Professional Recognition Awards with two fantastic people who have gone through that process. Michelle, if I can ask you to give out some all-important contact details for anybody inspired to get in touch about some courses or any information, where can they go?
Okay, so the first place to go is our website, cvcollege.org. You can email us at marketing@cvcollege.org. You can find us on social media or through LinkedIn, or you could call us on 01276 601 701.
And alternatively, you can speak to your local VQ officer as well. So that feels like a good time to bring this episode to a close. So much to digest, and without doubt, we could have gone on for much longer. Make sure you tune in to the next one. Keep an eye out on our usual social media channels for details of the next episode of Cadet to Career. It'll be available soon via our podcast channel, which you can find on our website, on Spotify, Apple iTunes, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. The editor was Steve Taylor, and this has been a Create Media production for Cadet Vocational College. Thank you for listening.